Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our interview. You guys are in for a big treat. I'm really excited about Ashely. We have been kind of stalking her for a little while and trying to get her to come on board. And she's been really, really gracious about the whole thing. You are going to learn so much from Ashely. Ashely is a certified online business coach. She helps entrepreneurs learn the repeatable marketing strategies they need to get rid of their day jobs and build six-figure incomes. So this is a very needed skill in our society right now, especially with what's going on in the world, how everyone's trying to take their business online. Ashely, she's an ex-corporate marketing and communications guru. She spent years, how many, 7, Ashely?
Yep, 7
years helping Fortune 500 companies like Walt Disney Pictures. Okay, so I just want you to understand who we are talking to. She helped Pixar, Universal turn a profit. And in her last role, she served as the youngest person on the marketing and communications leadership team at the 4th largest public research university in the nation. I'm going to let her tell you a little bit more about that. But it just was a chance thing that Ashely booked a free session with a life coach. And then she realized that it was time to stop helping the big guys. She loved it. She fell in love with it. And we're going to want to hear a little bit of your story, Ashely. And honestly, since she quit her 9-to-5 job, she then has built her own 6-figure business. I have a feeling you're on your way to much bigger things because, I mean, honestly, with everything you've done, you look at what you're already successful here and you're still a newbie and you've already accomplished all of this in a way. So you have a mission to inspire women. And I want you to, first of all, I want you to start with that. Tell us, what is your mission and why just women? Men need to be inspired. Tell me where did that come from?
Chances, really not having the opportunity to grow. And there's so much of society that tells women that they can't get to where they want to be because of all these glass ceilings and all these rules. So my mission is to inspire the masses, but really inspire women to stop settling for friends they don't want to have. And I think the first place that starts with is like taking action and creating a life you love. And for me and so many of the women I work with, the first step in taking that action and getting the resources to do so is through online businesses.
So why did you feel like online businesses is such a good route? Why is that the journey? Because there are so many ways, but this is a powerful way. Why do you feel so passionate about that?
Yeah, so my background is really in digital marketing. I freelanced social media marketing in college. I did blogging. And so that was really my zone of genius. I know so much about online marketing and sales. And I had worked for a couple of product-based companies and it just didn't light me up. I sold jewelry. I worked for a cookie company and I was like, okay, this is cool, but is this really changing someone's life? And so that kind of led me to this path of like service-based entrepreneurship, coaching for me, but for all the women I work with, they're service-based entrepreneurs. They're helping other people achieve their goals through things they can give, not just products.
I love that you are all focused on the service-based because nowadays, I mean, we are strategists. That's what we are. We're problem solvers. We're solution strategists, and we need to find ways to change people's lives for the better. People have problems and they are looking for answers. And I love that the focus is service. So, everybody wants to serve their clients, right? Why do you think it makes it so different if it's service-based, like what you're talking about, as opposed to all the other options out there? Because I know a lot of people they're focused on the money, but they're still serving their clients. So tell me what you've seen and why that touches you.
Yeah. The really cool thing is so I never saw myself as a salesperson. Any opportunity there was to work in sales, I was like, I will not. Selling is icky. Selling is gross. I don't want to be that guy. And when it came to the heart of it, it was always because I was selling something I didn't believe in. And I always told people, if I could just figure out how to sell myself, there's no one I believe in more. I just want to sell me. And then I found coaching. And that's the cool thing about services. Like when you're providing a service and it's you, if you believe in yourself, it is so easy to sell because you know what you bring to the table. You know how you impact people versus, like when I thought selling was icky, I was like, I don't know. I don't believe in this. But when you go all in with the thing you believe in, and maybe the thing someone else believes in is the product they're selling, that is the thing that carries a business forward.
Right. And so really getting results is the key. And what's really interesting about what you just said is you said, I really believe in myself and I don't care what I don't care what people say. I would say that most entrepreneurs really struggle with that, even if there are areas that they believe in themselves. Because wouldn't you say that, at least for my clients, 80, I would guess that about 80% of our time is mindset.
Oh yeah,
That's not what
totally.
they think that we're working on. They think we're working on scaling their profits, but really we're having to get
It's like
past.
all up here. Yeah.
Yeah. So
The
tell me what
craziest thing,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, the craziest thing. So I've recently gone very viral on TikTok. So follow me on TikTok, everyone. And with that has come like very much a positive community, but also some very negative people who have been like that. She's just scamming you. She's selling you a scam,
Yeah.
like all these really nasty things. And I was thinking about too, like I started my business in May last year, 2020. I was thinking about me then. If I would have gotten any comments like that, I would have just cried and quit because
Right.
I didn't believe in myself as much as I do now. Like now I have clients and proven results, but before you get all of that confidence, you're so right. There's so much mindset stuff that comes up. Like, will people think I'm a scam? Will people trust me? Will I be able to deliver on the promises I'm making to people? Will this even work out? What if I never get a client? These are all real fears.
Yeah, and everybody goes through that until you get to that place where you realize the result that you can give someone else. And what I always tell people is, you know what? If you are not getting any flack, you have no influence. If you're getting flack, it's because you have influence, you are impacting people's lives. Otherwise, nobody's paying attention. So good job,
Exactly.
you. That's
Thank you.
awesome.
I told people, I was like, I'm in like this group of entrepreneurs and I messaged them and I was like, guys, I have haters. Am I famous now? I was live on TikTok and there was this one guy and he was just trolling me and like saying all these mean things. And there's people in the comments who were like, leave her alone, man. We're trying to learn. And I was like, I have an audience defending me. Have I made it?
That is awesome. Yeah, and I just want you guys who are listening to notice what her reaction was. It was like like you said, there was a time when that would have made you cry, but look at what
Yeah.
that reaction was. Oh my goodness, this means something really good, and that is powerful. Okay, so
Yeah.
how did you niche down? How did you decide what you were going to coach on? Because you
Yeah.
obviously have a lot of experience. And by the way, we are not getting away from Disney. I'm a Disney freak. And so we are going to talk about that a little bit, even though that's not the whole topic of this.
Totally.
But tell me, how did you niche down into what you actually do?
Yeah. So initially, I didn't start off as a business coach. I have the 7 years of experience, but I was like, let me prove I can land clients first. So I had my life coaching certification and I started off just doing life purpose coaching, helping people find career paths. But as I was working with them, everyone wanted a business. They're like, well, I don't want to work a career. I don't dream of labor. I want my own business that it can eventually can be passive. And I'm like, got it. So then I was like, okay, let me just start business coaching. I was going to do it anyway. And so I picked business coaching just because of my knowledge in marketing and sales. And that's really where I am passionate. Like my brain is so creative when it comes to content strategies and how to push people through their decision-making process into the arms of like whatever someone is selling. And that's what gets me really excited. So I really looked to like, what is the thing that I loved about my job? And a lot of it was like all the marketing, all the content. I'm like, cool, that's the thing I'm going to carry with me.
Cool, cool. Okay, so and when you were at the beginning and you were thinking, okay, I've got to land some clients and prove that I can do that. How, like, because you know what it's like, the people who are newer and they want to do this thing, they have a dream. There are going to be people who are listening right now who are really, really successful, have already done a lot of, millions in sales. There are going to be people who are new going, yikes, I don't fit into that group. What would you
Yeah.
tell those people?
Start showing up as if you've already hit six figures. Like from month one, my first month, I was like, I'm going to leave my 9 to 5 job. And so I was like, whatever happens by June 1st, because I started in May, I'm like, I will be out of here. And I just had to act like I already had it together. So I launched a 5-day challenge to attract clients. Like, who am I? I'm no one on the internet. And the biggest thing I had to overcome was this idea that I didn't have something valuable to say. So like knowing that you have something valuable to say and valuable to share is the thing I think that propelled me to get confident in sharing the message and trying to go after the clients.
How did you determine that how did you determine, okay, I do have something valuable to say? Because really fear is the biggest issue. People are afraid of failure. And so when people start talking about, okay, this is what I want to teach, but then they have imposter syndrome and they're afraid that they're not good enough or not. There are already people teaching that. How did you get past that? How did you decide? Because I want people to have a pattern to follow. This is
Yeah.
what I can do. Is it just do it anyway? What exactly what it was it for you?
For me, it was like a constant reminder. And for me, I like to journal. I have a journaling practice. I do it every morning. And for me, it was doing that to get my mindset and just write and remind myself, like, okay, I have knowledge that someone doesn't have. Even if I'm only one step ahead of someone, I need to remind myself that I need to help the person behind me get to this step as I climb to the next one. And we're all just going forward together. And if I can just remind myself of that every day, then I can go give that message and not think about who's ahead of me or who's done more or who's been on this step before.
I love that. I love that. And we, as you know, we're rule breakers. We're all about not doing things the way everyone else does it, not thinking we have to do exactly what we're told. We've got to find our own way. We can do it better, we can do it bigger, and we can do it faster. And so you absolutely have done that. And I want to get into that in just a minute and have you teach some things that some of the things you teach your clients to help
Sure.
our audience. But first, I want to ask you, what rules have you broken where you're like, no, I'm not doing it the way everyone else does? Number one, you quit your 9 to 5.
Yeah. Yeah, I decided I would be a CEO before people told me I could. I was on a leadership team, but I was like, well, I can't really go anywhere from here because I'm already on the leadership team. Like if I want to become a VP of something else, like it's going to take years for these people to retire. So I decided I was going to be a CEO overnight. And I always tell my clients, you started a business, you're an overnight CEO. That's what happens. So they run with
Yeah.
that. The other rules I've broken, I'm just like I feel like in the online space, especially like the coaching industry, it's very like copycat vibes. People just want to like, what's that girl doing? Okay, I'm going to try that. And so I've tried really hard to not watch my competition.
Oh,
And I do me, and I just have learned to really trust. And it takes a lot of practice and a lot of just like letting what comes to me be the thing that I do and trust that I have all the answers. And that's something I'm really passionate about telling my clients and teaching them is like, you already know exactly what you need to do to move forward. And it's time to stop looking to a coach, to a consultant, to Instagram, to, whatever platforms you're looking to for answers and sit with yourself and think what's next. Because you know deep down what you want to do. Sometimes you need the strategy, but once you learn the strategy, you know which one it is you're going to carry forward. So
that
yeah.
is a really good point because one of the things that I went through when I had built my business that had gone massive, and then it led me to starting another business, which is the business I do now, but trying to decide which thing I was going to teach because I'd learned so much from growing that business. There were a lot of different things I could teach. I could be a business coach. I could teach how to create offers. I could do sales. I could do all these different things, but trying to decide what is it that I really love? Like, where do I want to go? I almost felt like I had to give everybody everything because everyone needs everything. And so
Yeah.
niching down, I love that. Okay. These, like, you obviously are not doing what everyone else is doing because one of the things everyone else does is they watch everyone else online and worry about how their competition is going to phase them. So what do you
Yeah.
do when, like, how do you get your clients?
So I have built my business to six figures initially just through Instagram and an email list and a Facebook group, but mostly Instagram. My first clients came through Instagram.
Okay, walk
Um, and
us through step by step exactly what that looked like because people want to learn and go, okay, that's what she did.
Yeah. So the very first part is figuring out who the heck I was serving. And so when it was life purpose coaching, it was like people stuck in their 9 to 5s. And so I was like, okay, how can I create content that would make someone who is miserable in their 9 to 5 want to follow me? And so a lot of it was like inspirational posts or like tips for, like overcoming their current situation. And so that was the first part, was using my content to attract the right people and gain trust and create some kind of expertise and knowledge around me that people would buy into. And then from there, it was connecting with the people who were following me, going out and connecting with people who were not following me on Instagram and building relationships with them so that they would come follow me and be in my community.
And how did you do that? Obviously, we can do it through interviews just like this so that you
Yeah.
connect and you collaborate. What are some things that you did to reach out to people who weren't following you?
Yeah, so I teach my clients how to do this. To find them, I had to figure out where they were hanging out on places like Instagram and Facebook. So, searching hashtags or finding competitor accounts and seeing who was engaging with them. And then from there, I would check out their posts and find the things that I resonated with. So if they were dog moms, I have a dog. If they like hiking, I love that. I'm from Ohio originally. I live in Miami. So I was just trying to find people who I could connect with on anything. And then I would message them and I would build a connection and be like, hey, super random, I know, but I saw you do this, or I followed you because I saw you commented on this podcast that we both like, and I would ask a question. And I would just start a relationship by asking questions. And every time I would DM someone, no matter what they said, every time I would follow up with a question to just keep our conversation going, with the intention of hopefully opening them up to telling me about what's happening in their life, whether it was their business or their personal life. So that way I could dive in to see, does this person have a problem that I can solve? And if they do, I'm going to ask them if they want help.
Okay, one of the things I want you who are listening to notice what she just did. Like a lot of people will say, oh, reach out to people because you're trying to get them to follow you, because you're trying to get more clients. But I want you to notice what Ashely's focus was. Her focus was finding out more about them. And the question wasn't because I'm not really interested, I'm just trying to get you to come over here. She was really interested. And because she asked questions, she did two things. It's like you said, you did a follow-up question so that it kept the conversation going. But what does a question do for people? A question absolutely has people feeling like you can see that they have value. They obviously said something that Ashely felt like, wow, that was valuable. And so now they feel like they're needed, like it's going to be something that, they're going to be valued somewhere. And then it can grow into a bigger relationship. I love the way that you approach people. I think it's a really powerful way that you do that. Okay, so let me ask you this question, because everybody has difficulties. Everybody has obstacles. Everybody has those stumbling blocks in their road that honestly, 99% of people, it stops them. And that's the only reason that more people aren't successful. 1% of people are crazy successful and 4% of people are very affluent. And you fall into that category. And so what are the obstacles that you had to push through? And then I'd like to hear about how you did that. What are some skills or tools that you use to get you past some hard things?
Yeah. The biggest problem I ran into, if I think back to the beginning, which is like 8 months ago, month one, I did very well. I landed the 4 clients I needed to quit my job. But then my second month, I was transitioning into business coaching. And I didn't get clients because I was building a program. So I was like, whoops, okay, I'm glad I have payment plans and I'm on retainer, but like, I'm not growing. And I know I just made that DM thing and the conversation seem very effortless, but I couldn't figure it out in the beginning. I had all of these people, all of these entrepreneur friends. They're like, yeah, just message people. And I'm like, but how? And I had no strategy for how to do it. Like that process took time. And I was at a point where I was launching a new group program. There was no one who had signed up yet. This was in July. I had a wait list. I had this big launch and no one was joining. And I was like, oh my gosh, no one is reaching out to me. People are getting on the wait list, but not booking calls for sales calls. And I was like, what am I going to do? And I was like, I had the choice to either sit and be upset and just wonder if this would work out, or I could take action. And the action I took was to get good at messaging people and building relationships quickly. And so I would not recommend doing this, but I went on a mission and I messaged 150 people in my audience in 1 week. Their link. I could see there was some interest, but I didn't know who they were. And I was like, I have to figure this out. So I'm going to message 100.
I have a question. So were you tracking who was clicking on what yet? Or did you have any of that kind of stuff set up yet?
Okay. I didn't know who was clicking. Okay. I just knew people were clicking on the link in my bio. I didn't know who they were. And so I had to go find them. So, these are the mistakes we make. But through that process is how I got really, really good at selling in the DMs. Because it's like sales is just practice. It's a skill. You stretch, you learn. Right. And I got really good at figuring out the questions that work, the questions that made people stop messaging me, the questions that got people to open up. And by doing that, I ended up, making way more than I thought I would in that launch, because I thought I was going to sign no clients, and it kind of set it up for success. That program's called 9 to Freedom. Now it books out every time we launch it. And so to think it went from is this going to work to okay, it's a thing now, is crazy. And I think the thing that made it happen is I was just resilient. I was like, it's in entrepreneurship, if things are going wrong, you can quit or you can figure out another way. And it's that other way that's going to keep you going, no matter if you have to tweak it every time.
Right, right. And remember, you guys who are listening, a lot of people think something doesn't happen the way they want it, or there's a quote failure, and that somehow that is bad. People don't understand that failure is actually you just figuring out one more way that doesn't work. Because as soon as you peel all the ways that don't work, you peel those away, all of a sudden, all that's left is success. All you that's only possible thing left is success. So a failure is actually something that you want, that you are going after. And so it's wonderful that you say that. So you said you got really good at the DM close. So
Yeah.
did you get on a phone call with them at the end of that time or no? And
So it would depend.
in fact, start
Sometimes,
at the beginning. Start at the beginning and go through that, because I know people are dying to know what exactly
yeah,
did you say. Try to walk us through what you said, how they would respond, how like things that you noticed that they were offended at that you said, because of course I know I can imagine. And then
yeah.
how it led to like what was the process. Now what's your process? So kind of teach
Yeah.
us.
So things that did not work were like anytime I of like skipped out, because I wanted to see anytime I skipped out on the connection piece on authentic, like actually caring about them before saying, who do you work with? What kind of clients do you serve? No one messaged me back. They did not want to talk about that. People know if you're going to pitch them, and they will avoid it at all costs. That is what I learned. So it like the process that works and that I teach my clients is like that initial connection has to be about the person, and you have to try as much as possible to, if you're doing business to business, not make it about the business, make it about anything else you can find about that person on their profile and connect with that. And then the real key and the hardest part is transitioning that personal piece into their business. And so what I've learned and what I teach people is like taking anything, you can take anything and make it about their business. Are they reading a book? Ask them what lessons they've learned that they've been able to apply. Do they drink coffee every morning? Tell them like, I can't live my life, I can't start my business in the morning without it. Is that the same for you? And ask them about that. But tie everything back to business, because now you're in that conversation, you're talking about business, and now it can flow more naturally versus that very aggressive, how did you start your business, what kind of clients do you serve, how did you get here? And like
Right.
people, you gain the trust before you start that conversation.
Okay, have you noticed that there are a certain number of questions that usually happen that are more personal before you transition to business? Or is it more the way they respond? Is there a certain way they respond that you're like, hey, now I can tell they're ready and they want to talk about business?
Normally, it's about like 2 to 3 personal questions, but sometimes it'll depend on who you're talking to. If they're not very open and they're like very short with their answers and the personal stuff, they're probably not going to talk to you about their business. So,
Right.
those are just like things to pick up on. And the really interesting thing to know is like the people who are closed off, just because they're closed off doesn't mean they don't want to buy from you. I've had conversations where I'm like, well, they hate me, but then they watch my Instagram stories every day, and then they book sales calls with me, and I'm like, okay, cool. You were like a ghost follower. You were just hanging out and waiting to see. I got you.
And so, okay, so now lead us to the close. What happens? You've gotten to know them a little bit. You talk about business. How many questions or how many back and forths about business do you do online first?
Yeah, so that really depends, because when we're talking about business, the main thing I'm focused on is determining their need. So what is going on in their business that needs to be better? So it could be one question and they just spew their whole life to me. I've had that happen before where they're like, I've been watching you and this is going on and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, whoop, okay, let's dive in. And sometimes it's like just trying to figure out what's going on and read them. So like, okay, do you have any clients right now? Are you working with the number of clients you want to be working with? How do you feel about sales? How do you feel about your marketing? Do you wish anything was different? And trying to figure out if there is a need. And then really like the question that's helped me close the most is just asking people like, do you want help with that? Like I see that you have this goal and I see you're not at that goal yet, showing them the gap and then saying, do you want help in closing that gap? And sometimes they're like, I already have a solution. No, I don't want help. Or they're like, actually, I would be really interested. What can you do for me?
Cool. And then, so when that happens, when they're saying, okay, I'm interested, is that when you get on the call?
Yeah. Then I schedule them in for a call.
Okay. And how long is that call?
That call is, I usually do 30-minute calls. So in 30 minutes, I figure out like what's going on in their business, where they're struggling, what their goals are, what they think the one thing that's holding them back is. And then from there, I like to like diagnose them and say, okay, here's the 3 areas of your business. Like I'm the doctor. Dr. Ashely has come in with her
I love
business knowledge. Here are the 3 problems you have. Your arm's broken, your leg's falling apart, you can't get clients. And then I provide them like, okay, here's the solution. And here's how previous clients have fixed what you're working with now. And then as soon as they confirm, they're like, wow, that's exactly what I need. That's everything. I show them which offer, which coaching package, which thing will be the thing to solve it.
Oh, that's awesome. So how do you narrow down what to work with first? Because people usually come, they might even just say they have one issue, but a lot of times as they talk to you within minutes, you can tell, okay, there are 4 out of 10 things that we're going to need to work with.
Yeah.
How do
So yeah. So I've made it really easy for myself. And I kind of have buckets of entrepreneurs I work with. I work with entrepreneurs who have never landed a client or are not, sold out in their service business yet. And then I have a bucket of entrepreneurs who are scaling to 6 figures. And
Okay.
so they look different in their problems. And I have a coaching program called 9 to Freedom with a 10-week framework. And usually the people who are in that bucket, whether they're worried about their content or closing on sales calls or their confidence, all of those things are talked about in my program. And so I know that we'll work together on whatever their first issue is. The big emphasis is for them, but they'll learn more and those things.
Right. Okay. So you know how sometimes people will come to you and that it's like you said, there's a thing that they really want to work on, but you can kind of see that their success will be faster if they solve this problem first. That's not always the case. Sometimes the thing they want to work on is the thing kind of find people and get people. I
Yeah, we
don't
do
know.
it all. Like the people who are in my little beginner bucket do it all on Instagram. They build up their platform, they build up their personal brand, they, attract the clients they want to work with, and then they build the relationships through talking about their offers on Instagram lives, on Instagram stories. They get really confident on video. And I think that confidence that they gain on video is the thing that makes them stand out. Like think about virtual assistants. Some virtual assistants come to me and they have been applying to jobs on Upwork or Fiverr. And it's very easy to get lost in the mix, but all of a sudden they get on Instagram, they start showing their face. The entrepreneur who's going to hire them can see them, see their personality, kind of figure out if they'll get along. And all of a sudden they've stood out against the competition for just being themselves.
So as you have people get on Instagram and they're kind of, doing their videos, kind of putting themselves out there, getting a little bit vulnerable, how soon are they putting their offer? Is that what their whole, all their little posts are all about that with, of course, a certain percentage of, the who am I, certain
Yeah.
percentage of their offer. What does that part look like for them?
Yeah, they do a little bit of like, this is who I am, a little bit of here is some valuable information for you, and here is how my offer solves your problem. And I have like a very specific thoughts on content because I think you should be highlighting that problem that your client is having. There's so many people who don't even know they need a VA. They haven't identified the overwhelm. They just know something's wrong. And so it's bringing awareness to the problem, highlighting yourself as the expert with the knowledge to solve it, and then selling the offer and closing it through your content as much as you can through handling objections in their post or doing all kinds of stuff like that.
And so with your clients, you work one-on-one with every client or do you have different tiers? How does that work?
Yeah, so I do my group coaching program, and those are weekly group calls, and they get 2 one-on-ones with me. And then I have a mastermind and they get monthly one-on-ones. And then I have a one-on-one offer where people get all one-on-one. So
You're like,
I
no, I
try to
just
do a
want
little bit of
you.
one-on-one with everyone.
Yeah, if they
Yeah.
just want you, you're like, okay, we can
You're like,
set
come on down. Let's do this thing.
that. Okay, awesome. Okay, so okay, I'm gonna put you on the spot just a little bit, but what kind of client is the most fun for you?
The most fun.
Yeah, the ones that you really are like, I love working with this kind of person.
Oh my gosh, the clients who are just ready to go. The clients who are like, I will risk it all. They're like, whatever you say, I'm gonna go try it. Because like if I say something, it's probably gonna work. So if we're like, they're like, okay, I'm gonna show up on stories every day this week, and they just go post on Instagram stories. I'm like, yes, let's go. Or like I have clients who are like, I'm gonna pitch 4 people every day this week. I'm like, I don't know where you're gonna find them, but let's go. So the ones who are just ready to take action, make me so happy because, I know it's hard to like feel that way and always be motivated, but it's cool to be on their team and help them stay in that zone where they're like always ready to go.
Okay, so it's so fulfilling when you see a client who succeeds. And I know for me, like when I had my own successes, it's so exciting. And there are times when I just am overwhelmed with the amazing things that are happening. Obviously, there are the obstacles, but then there are the great times too. And as it got bigger and bigger and grew more, it gets to the point where I remember looking at checks and crying, thinking, I can't believe this is my life and this is what a blessing. Like I have an obligation to add value to people's lives. If this is what like the benefit that I'm getting, I need to make sure other people get that too. So then here we have our own successes, but sometimes when when my clients are successful, it has been more powerful many times than when I just like my babies are succeeding. And so what do you, number one, tell us a little bit about that with your clients. What does that feel like for you? What kind of experiences have you had with that? And then I'll have a follow-up question about how to work with clients who are succeeding and who aren't.
Yeah. Yeah. I can totally relate to like just being emotional about everything I've been able to achieve. I was even feeling a little that way yesterday. I was just like sitting and reflecting. I just hired my fourth team member yesterday. And so I was like, I can't believe that like I get to help fund people's lives like that and help them have like cool jobs. Like my sister's on my team. I promoted her yesterday and hired someone else. So like it's been so cool. But you're right, like seeing my clients do stuff like that. One of my clients was a single mom. She was not landing clients in her business. She was trying to she was running a daycare. She was trying to close the daycare so she could just stop doing that and just have her business, but she couldn't figure it out. And so she enrolled in the group coaching program that I have. And by the end of it, all the work that we had done, she gave her notice to her daycare clients and closed it down. She had enough money to, provide for her two kids and pay the mortgage. She was making $10,000 a month as a virtual assistant. Like I was like, oh my gosh, I helped a mom quit her job and just be a mom. That's so cool. So it's really cool.
Exciting. Okay, I got to hear one more story because honestly, I think that has touched my heart so much of everything we've talked about. So I would love to hear another. Tell us about another one that really touched your heart that you were like, wow, this was exciting.
Yeah, I had another client and she was a social media manager when she first came to me. And I think, the hardest thing is like figuring out your niche in the beginning. And she had some clients, but she wasn't lit up every day. And she's like, I'm working my 9 to 5. The social media management isn't lighting me up. She's like, I really want to be a coach, but like, who am I to be a coach? And I was like, well, who are you? What do you want to do? And then she's like, well, I'm me and I can do this. And I have this experience and I have a background in psychology and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, so what are we doing? And in the first week of working together, she switched from social media manager to coach, no offers, no audience, no anything. And within the first 3 weeks, she landed her first one-on-one client. And by the end of our 10 weeks together, in the last 2 weeks, she did a launch of a group coaching program and made $11,500 from this group coaching program. And like, this was her first 2 months or 2.5 months in this new business. And she couldn't believe it. And she's like, oh my gosh, I never thought this was my favorite thing that she said at the end. Cause I was like, like I always like asking my clients, like, what's their biggest takeaway of working together? And she's like, I always thought 6 figures and $5,000 months and success was reserved for the elite. I never thought it was for me. And she was like, by working with you and by going through this process, I've really learned that I can do this and anyone can do this. And I think that's what matters most. And I was like, crying. I was like, my heart, yes,
because all the work and all the sacrifice you did to get to this place where you really could help people, where people could find you so that they would know you could help them. And now it turned into that. That is so cool. Okay, so now people, I know, because I get questions after and people are like, well, how did she do this? Or what did they do here? So what I want to ask you, because I'm always trying to think, okay, what would they want to know? How did you launch? Like she didn't have a thing. And then she started, what was her coaching about? And how did she launch it that she made this money in that?
So she did empowerment coaching. So she was just empowering women and she focused down on entrepreneurs. So we know entrepreneurs have lots of mindset issues. And she was like, okay, I have a background in psychology. I'm going to help them with their mindset. And some people go into like a very long launch phase where they're like, okay, let me warm up my audience. Let me do this. And I was like, just start selling. Just start selling. And so that's what we did. We were putting out a balance of content that was like bringing awareness to people who had mindset issues, starting to share some of her psychology knowledge and tips and background, and then just always selling like, hey, she's like, hey, I have this one-on-one. This is how it's going to change your life. And the coolest thing is that she had no testimonials. She was pitching people every single week. She went really hard. She was like very determined. She was pitching calls all week long. And she told me she got on a call with someone and they're like, oh, well, can you tell me about other clients you've worked with? And she was like, I'm going to be honest with you. You'll be my first client, but this is what I've done for myself. And she talked about her own journey with mindset and transformation. She goes, and I'm confident I can do it for you too. And they were like, okay, I believe you. I'll do it. And that was her first client. And she was just like, I have no testimonials. And they're like, okay, that's fine. I was like, that is amazing.
Wow. You have a powerful influence on people, and I love it. I really love it. Okay, now back to, I know I had kind of mentioned this before. Tell me a little bit about when you have a client that is succeeding and when you have one that is not. Tell me what that looks like, how that is for you, and how do you get the client that's maybe not doing what they're supposed to be doing, or for whatever reason they're not, it's not working.
It makes me so sad, especially like because I run group coaching programs, so everyone comes in together and starts off at a cohort essentially at the same place, and some people go crazy and some people go a little bit slower, and I'm like, oh, but I always try to remember and remind the clients like everyone's journey to success is not a rocket ship, and that's okay. Like just because someone landed 6 clients in 1 week doesn't mean you're not doing the right things. It doesn't mean you're not on the right path. It doesn't mean you're failing. It just means you're on a different path and you're still successful in other ways, because some people come to me and they already have clients. They already have a business idea. They've already niched down. But other people are like, I don't know what my niche is. Other people have no background in sales. So like when you're starting from different places, it's not really fair to compare yourself to all these other people. So that's the one thing I try to remind my clients who feel like a little unsuccessful. But when it comes down to they're just maybe not implementing the strategies we create together, or they like are shying away from selling, I always try to figure out, okay, it's obviously not the strategy, it's something else. And I try to figure out what that is. Is it like a mindset? Is it a limiting belief? Are they doubting themselves? And I try to figure out how I can make them reshift that focus and bring in that confidence, whether it's through a conversation or a coaching call. In one of my group programs, we have 2 weekly calls, one with me and one with me and a life coach, where we only work on mindset. So like when those things come up, I'm like, hey, you're coming to the call tonight, right? Because, I think you should be there. And then so we do it that way.
That's a really great idea. So what does your schedule look like? How often do you have calls? How full is your schedule? Because I think one of the things that people worry about when they start getting involved in this, I see 2 challenges. Number one, people who give way too much of their time away. It's like what you were talking about before. They offer all their time for a very little amount of money, or maybe they don't know how much the client needs, or when to step in so that the client can get what they need. When should it be group? When should it be individual one-on-ones? How do you decide that? And what does yours look like?
Yeah. So my schedule is I do only 2 days of client calls. So I'll do Mondays and Tuesdays are open for clients. And that's like when I do my calls. And, I never have anyone not get in on my schedule, because my group coaching program, you only get 2 calls, and my mastermind only gets 1 call with me. So I try to do a lot of group stuff to maximize my time and the amount of people that I can serve. And then on the other days, I have Slack channels or Voxer with my clients. So I spend about 30 minutes in there a day, just like answering questions. And then on Wednesdays, I do feedback on my clients' content, sales plans, captions, DMs that they're trying to close. So I spend about 3 hours in the morning just like reviewing some content. And then Thursdays and Fridays are either team meeting days or deep work days. So I'm like creating new projects, creating content, having meetings with my social media manager or my operations manager. And like, since hiring those people, it wasn't always like that, but since hiring people, it's like I have so much more free time. And in my free time, I just make
life. And don't you think, oh my goodness, I should have done this sooner?
Yes.
I don't think I ever talked to someone who didn't think I should have done it sooner.
Yeah. I just brought on a social media manager yesterday, and I went into my ClickUp board this morning and she already planned out all of our content for March. And I was like, oh, cool. That's
And you're
awesome.
like, I
Like,
love you. Yeah.
I was like, I guess I'll just make TikToks and keep growing my TikTok fame.
Okay, so what made you go to TikTok?
What made me go to TikTok? I
What
had
were
no
you
intention.
before? You were doing Instagram before?
Yeah, I was doing
What did
Instagram.
you do? Okay, so what came up for you?
So I was on TikTok a little bit. I was like posting random reels that I would have made. So I was like repurposing content on TikTok and nothing was happening from it. But then all of a sudden, I posted a video because I found an old journal of entry of mine from January 2020. And it was like, what's your New Year's resolution on January 1st? And it was to quit my 9 to 5 and have a business I love. And I looked back on it this year and I was like, oh my gosh, I did it. And so I posted a TikTok about how I did it. And I was like, you know what? If you want to learn how to do it too, follow me. And it went viral. And it got like 30,000 views. And I got an influx of 3,000 followers in 2 days. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm on TikTok now. I have 3,000 followers. I should probably create some content for them. And so I've been just like, the people who are following me on there are very different than my Instagram audience. My Instagram audience are people who know what kind of business they want to have. They're just not landing clients. On TikTok, I have people who are miserable in their 9 to 5s, have no idea what business models exist. And so I created an ebook for them to figure it out. And that's been like so cool to like have a whole new client base to think about, new needs to serve. So
Yes.
that's been an adventure. That's happened in like the last month.
Okay, so so congratulations, first of all, that's exciting.
Yeah.
And thank heaven you do your journal time.
Right? Gotta document those thoughts.
Yes. Okay, so as you're doing this with your clients, do you have any concerns about bringing in a new group of clients?
Yeah. For like this new audience base, I've been trying to figure out for me with the bridge between I don't know what kind of business I want to have and bringing them in to that group. I haven't had anyone come in yet. I'm thinking about an in-between offer for them. And this is the things you think about as you scale, like how can I meet everyone at their journey to success? And so I've been thinking about how I can create something that can help people figure out their first offer, figure out their ideal client, niche down before they get into like the marketing and sales techniques that we teach for the people who already know what business they have. They're just not getting the results they want.
That's cool. It's really fun because that's one of the fun things as an entrepreneur is coming across the new thing that your clients need. And you go, you know what, let's create the steps. I've been doing it, but I never really sat down and figured out the exact steps for somebody who didn't know how to do that part yet.
Yeah.
And so now you get to do that. That's fun.
Like you said, we're problem solvers.
I know. And I've noticed that you talk about the strategies you use, and it's true. You're a strategist. And when you figure out how to be a good strategist, that's when you become successful. And that's what you've done. Okay. So, before we end, I want to, number one, thank you for your time. You've been amazing. And people are going to have so much fun learning from you and listening to you. And one of the things I also want to say is thank you for being so honest about what you've done, because you've given us details that really will help people go, oh my goodness, well, that's not what I was doing. When I was DMing, I was, trying to bring up the business first or whatever it was. So you're going to help a lot of people in their business. If you had one thing that maybe it's the thing that has changed your clients' lives where they're like that, like, for example, let's see, how do I say this? Like the things I do in my business, there are things that people say, oh my goodness, that changed my life. Oh my goodness, that changed my life. But there are certain things that I hear it the most about those. So what are yours? The things that people are constantly, that's what your clients are like, the one that you hear the most about, this is what changed my life. And then tell us what that is and then teach it to us.
Yeah, I'll teach you one that recently came up. I don't know about all kinds, but this is top of mind because I just had a call with a client last night. And This is what she said. We were talking about her clients and she wasn't attracting them. Her content wasn't working. And we were trying to figure out why. And I think the greatest thing that you can do as an entrepreneur who's trying to help someone solve a problem is paint a picture of that problem for them. And she was like, she does life coaching. So she was like, you're unfulfilled, you're miserable, but those aren't specific enough. You have to get in the shoes of the people you want to work with or the people you want to buy from you. And so we were thinking about how does some...
let me point something out real quick to the people who are listening. Notice that what Ashely is telling you is she was creating a list, but I love the wording that you said about painting a picture. There's a difference between painting a picture and creating a list, and she was giving them a list.
Yes. Yeah. She was giving them a list, and then we painted the picture of like, okay, this person wakes up. What do they think when they wake up about this job they have to go to? They're sitting in their car. They're driving to work. What are they thinking? They're sitting at their desk. What are they thinking as they're typing? They have a meeting coming up. What are they going to do at that meeting? Are they excited about it? They're going to lunch. Who are they going to lunch with? How do they feel about lunch? Are they thinking about, oh, it's 4 o'clock. It's almost time to go home? And the more you can really get in that, and then talk about it to your audience and say, I know you're doing this right now. I know you're going to sit at your desk at 4 p.m. today and think that you could leave right now and beat traffic, but you can't leave because they won't let you leave till 5. Do you want to keep doing that, or do you want to start a business? Like, that's how deep you have to get in people's shoes. So they're like, oh my gosh, she gets me. She's reading my mind. And you are, and you have the solution. You just have to paint the picture first.
Hey, you are good. Your wording is good, and really, truly, you're eloquent as you talk and say these words. And it's interesting because I think about all the things you've been teaching us today, how you got really good at DMing, you got good at all the messaging, you got good at helping your clients do the messaging. And now as we hear you speak, you're very eloquent. It's because you practiced it. You may have already been naturally good at that, but it's something that you have definitely honed, and you're a master at it.
Thank you.
So
Yeah.
that's great.
Lots of
Okay,
practice.
well, any last words of wisdom for the people who are listening?
Words of wisdom: believe in yourself more than anyone else, and you will go so far. Be your number one champion. Don't rely on someone else to hype you up. You have a dream. If you remind yourself of that dream and believe in that person and that vision, that's all you need to keep getting there. Like you said, there's no failure. You just peel back the onion until you get to that thing you're dreaming of.
That's awesome. Perfect ending. And now after you just said that, I'm like, Ashely, time for you to write your book.
Yes, that is a goal. I would love to write a book.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate you. You guys, make sure you put in the comments anything that you loved about what she said. Make sure you give her lots of love. We really appreciate you sacrificing your time, because we know you're busy. We know you're in high demand. We appreciate that. Oh my goodness. I did not ask you about Disney. I cannot let you go if I don't ask you about, tell me about working at Disney and what that was like and what you did.
Yeah, so I worked for a division of Disney in Miami, Florida, and I have so many crazy stories. I will tell you a crazy story. I was doing like press junkets, PR. I was coordinating press to interview like their celebrities, so like the Cinderella cast. But my favorite story of working at Disney was when we had a advanced movie screening in Miami for Straight Outta Compton, and it was Ice Cube and the whole thing. And they had dinner right before the advanced screening, and they didn't pay the bill because they were late for their movie. So I had to run in heels down Lincoln Road in Miami to take the company credit card up the elevator to pay their drink tab and then rush back. And when I got back, they were like, oh, hey, they want some popcorn and some hot dogs for their limo before they go. And I was like, got it, no worries. So here I am. And I crawled into their limo and put their little hot dogs down for them and then left. So that's not great insight about Disney, but it is a funny story.
That's funny. Well, and it's kind of fun to hear. I bet you have some amazing stories. In fact, I have somebody who does a podcast on Disney who they probably would love having you on.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, well, thank you. Thank you, Ashely, for being on. We really appreciate it. And that was really, really fun. I'm sure we'll be connecting again.
Thank you.